Progress. I'm Charlie Deist, giving you tips on how to improve the efficiency of your workflows as a podcaster. Do more in less time so you can finish your work and go outside. Today I'm drilling down into how to use this amazing new software called Descript. No longer do you need to use Audacity. Here you can see Descript is transcribing what I'm saying in real time, and later on I'm going to be able to edit the text and it will edit in the actual audio and video file. Not only does it make editing a podcast a lot more fun, it actually makes it a whole lot faster. So one of the things about Descript is that it's very easy to get kind of bogged down, getting too fancy. What we want to do is get in, make the most important changes, and then get out. So I kind of queued up an existing episode here that I have to edit. This was the recent episode that I did with my audio engineer extraordinaire, David Springer. If you need help recording, mastering, editing your audio, if you aren't up for doing it yourself after watching this tutorial, I recommend you reach out to David. He's a fine fellow and an excellent audio editor to boot. But I've got this checklist here. This is my list of what I do for each episode as I am editing. And it's a pretty short list. I can work through most of these in just a couple of minutes. Some of the steps take a little longer than others, but the overriding idea here is the 80-20 rule. Now, you might have heard of this before as the power law or Pareto law, which basically says that you're going to get most of the bang for your buck from just a couple of inputs. My workflow for editing begins in Riverside. Riverside.fm allows you to record high-resolution audio and video. If you're using Zoom, again, get with the program. That's like using Audacity for your audio-video editing when there's far superior software available with Descript. All right, now from here, I'm going to go to the studio where I recorded this episode. Here we go. And there's a handy feature to export to Descript. So after I do that, I'm able to open up the project file. I'm going to create a new composition here. So within Descript, it will automatically upload the files, begin to transcribe them, and create a multi-track sequence. In this case, it's the two of us having our conversation. So I just imported this. We can see the two tracks here, and we also see our videos side by side. Now, the first thing I like to do when I first import these tracks is apply something called Studio Sound. Right up here under Audio Effects, I just say File, Studio Sound, and it's going to apply it to both of us here. This tends to take a little while, but it's going to put a nice little finish over our audio, make it sound like we were recording in a professional studio. So, checking off these boxes, I've transferred from Riverside, I've transcribed the files, and I've applied Studio Sound. Note I say at 80%. You've got this little toggle here where the intensity of Studio Sound can vary, and if you're capturing good audio to begin with, you don't really need this tuned all the way up to 100%. So in line with the 80-20 rule, I'm just going to turn this down to 80%, and it'll still improve some of the background noise and make it sound a little bit crisper, but without the robotic sound that I've noticed sometimes accompanies 100% intensity on Studio Sound. All right, next up is applying speaker scenes. This is where we can basically take the whole file and instead of having a side-by-side view, we can instead have it focus on the active speaker. For this, I'm going to click these little stars and say Add Scenes by Active Speaker. And now it just created a whole bunch of scenes. Every time the speaker changes, it's going to make a cut. So now we can see that it alternates between speakers instead of having side by side. Hey, David, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Charlie?
Not too bad.
Notice you
And if I want to get rid of one of these scenes or say have side by side talking heads, I just come into the script and I delete the slash mark. And then within this scene, this is scene number 3, I'm going to go ahead and drag myself over here. I need to add David back in by coming over to the script and turning the eyeball on to show him again. And now I'm going to crop these so that the edges come in a little bit. And now I can line these up about halfway on the screen, right there. Try to get us to look about the same size. And now it's almost like we're in the same room here.
Haircut there. Looking good. Looking good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I like to alternate back and forth between active speaker view and sometimes have the talking heads there. But for the most part, I'm just going to let the active speaker thing do its thing. Again, we don't want to get too bogged down in the weeds. The next thing I do is I run through the whole episode in 2 to 3 times speed. Now, this is just a way of figuring out what are the areas that I need to trim out. I find that I can pick these out listening at 2 or 3 times speed, as long as I'm also following along in the transcript here. So I come down to these 3 little dots. I say playback speed, 2x, and let's just have a listen. Hey, David, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Charlie?
Not too bad.
Notice you got a haircut there. Looking good. Looking good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was inspired by your haircut. You're looking sharp. I thought I had to up my game a little bit, and I asked the barber to make me look like Clark Gable, and instead I ended up with this Tapatio Man mustache. But I'll take it. So, all right. Now let's find a place where we want to cut. Back that up and just say one more thing. Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo. All right. Indeed, Cinco de Mayo. Well,
This is the luxury of recording, though. I love it because you can just
really is.
take a second.
Yeah. So, David, today I enlisted your help. You are my go-to sound guy. All right. So this whole section here, I see that this needs to get taken out because I had a little stumble. That's going to happen, and that's the beauty of recording and editing in Descript is it's very easy to identify things like this. And then I go back to where I cut and I listen to make sure that it didn't interrupt the flow. Perfect. So David, today I enlisted your help. You are my go-to. Sounds good. Now this whole episode was 33 minutes and 32 seconds to begin with. I think I had a goal of trying to cut this down to about 15 minutes. So let's see how I do. Here's another spot where I messed up here. Let's see, I'm kind of deviating from the script a little bit. I'm going to pull my script over here. One second, start that one more time. All right, find the place where the audio will flow together seamlessly. And it looks like it goes all the way back here. Cut that out. Okay, so when I've finished editing on 3x speed, there are a couple more things that I go through on my checklist. The next one is eliminating filler words. Now here the 80-20 law is especially important because you could spend all day kind of painstakingly going through your transcript and eliminating them one at a time. Thankfully, there is this feature to highlight them all. We want remove filler words. I've got 175 of them. So let's take an example. I'm going to highlight one of these.
Plosives, you might
now in that case, it's a duplicate word that was intentional. Now here we have like a weird, gross sort of tone. Let's see if we can clean this up.
Like a weird, gross sort of tone on the microphone. And
now let's just go through and delete all the things that it specifies as filler words. And let's listen to how this sounds.
A little bit like a weird, gross tone on the microphone, and that comes from...
To me, that sounds a little bit jumpy because what you see, if you look closely at the waveform before we deleted these, it all kind of blends together. There's not a clear amount of silence on either side. In some other cases, you have a filler word where there is clear silence on both sides, and I like to just press the B key to cut here, cut there, and manually delete this. So Descript is great for identifying filler words, and if you have the time, you can go through and try to identify the ones that have clear space on either side. But if it blends in here, if we try to delete this one, I'll just show again. See that little chunk that right there? Did you hear the blip? That little chunk that. So it just sounds more awkward than if we leave the in there. That little chunk that is. All right, so we've eliminated the clear and discrete filler words. Now we can truncate silence. This is a similar tool where it's going to find all the word gaps. And here I've got 9 results of 2 seconds or more. I'm going to shorten those to half a second, and I'm just going to apply this in bulk. I could look at these and see where they're happening. So that was just a case where I was moving around my microphone stand. And that is an awkwardly long silence. Indeed, 3.8 seconds. This one, 2.1 seconds. Here, David stops to think. We can get rid of, look at them one by one. I have here. And ideally, actually, we would be able to see what that changes after the fact. Because here, look, it's going to cut off this whole chunk of probably if I just follow the script guidelines. So again, I'm going to manually go in. The AI is not quite there. Still requires a little bit of adult supervision. Next one, I have here, just cut, okay, cut, delete. Okay, now, or what it looks like, you can do a cut here and then drag over. Same sort of thing, as long as you leave a little bit of silence on either side there.
Microphone.
Next one, cut. So one more green, oops. Cut, delete, delete. Laser battle, we'll find out on the next episode of Podcast. Yeah, not sure why it thinks that this is silence, but that's some kind of a glitch here. Excellent. So, and again, if I just delete this as it stands
on the side,
if we just apply that,
excellent,
we're at the perfect 20-minute mark. Let's go back there and see what it did.
The side.
Excellent. So, David, yeah, so here, listen. Excellent. So, excellent. It's kind of cutting off the beginning of what I said. So, we want to back it up there and really just do it manually. Excellent. So, David is... All right, so we've shortened the word gaps. And at this stage, once the script is basically in its final intact form, this is where I typically export the transcript. So I go publish, export, transcript, and export. That's going to export it without any of the little fluff or redundancy, and it gives me just a nice clean text file. At this stage, it's time to apply certain templates. I use these for my intro and outro, but you can also use them if you've got any kind of captions or subheaders that appear throughout the show, or if you want to add some sort of a marquee down along the bottom or something to introduce who the guest is, then you can go up to these templates and apply them. The templates that I find most useful are definitely the intro and outro. So I've already plugged in my intro, which is just this music that fades in, and then I've got a podcast in progress logo here. So David, a couple of years ago, I enlisted you to be... But for the outro, I'll show you how this works. First thing I'm going to do is come down to the very end, and I'm going to create a new scene. Then I go up here, and I'm going to apply the template. In this case, it's the outro template. Here it goes, apply template. And it just goes ahead and puts in my outro music plus the little outro banner. Actually, this one's a little bit out of date. I've since updated this with the intro banner. But here I can just kind of drag this over and adjust it. I don't have to go looking for the files. They're right there in my template. If you have your own audio as part of a template, like a outro line that you deliver each time, you can also add that, and it will just pop right here into the timeline. So from here, we're pretty much ready to publish. You can go up here, and if you have it linked to your different accounts, you could publish it as YouTube, whatever podcasting service you use, and that's a wrap. And remember that if you want to become a more productive and prolific podcaster, we've got other tools and templates waiting for you over at virgilius.com. Check it out, and don't be shy to reach out if you need help getting these things set up. There's a bit of a learning curve, but once you do it, you won't regret it.